Okay. The second clause says that where under the contract of sale, the seller is bound to send the goods to the buyer, but no time for sending time is fixed. The seller is bound to send them within a reasonable period. So it means when a contract clearly says that it should be delivered by the seller to the buyer, okay, if the time is not fixed, it is the duty of the seller to say that I am in the third party, are the seller, so I can deliver the goods at any time. Say he cannot say so. So it like the seller has to deliver the goods within a reasonable period. So reasonable period, like as you all know that the reasonable period depends upon um the nature of the goods. The third one is where the goods at the time of sale are in the possession of a third person. There is no delivery by seller to buyer unless and until such third person acknowledges to the buyer that he holds the goods on his behalf. So in case if the third party is holding the custody of the goods, it may be an agent, or he may be a warehouse holder, or he can be a courier person, whoever maybe it is. In case if third person is holding the custody of the goods on behalf of the seller, even if the third person, he should acknowledge to the buyer that he is holding the custody of the goods on behalf of the seller. If no acknowledgement is made that he is holding the custody of the goods on behalf of the seller, he cannot say that he has delivered the goods or he is ready to deliver the goods. It is the fault of the buyer that he has not taken the possession. So he should clearly make a acknowledgement to the buyer that I mean the third party or the seller, both the parties should make an acknowledgement to the buyer that that third party is holding the custody of the goods, like he is holding the rightful custody of the goods on behalf of the seller, so that the buyer can take the delivery from the third party. In case if the buyer is not taking the possession of the goods from the third party, in case if the third party is not acknowledging that he is holding the custody of the goods, later he cannot say that, I mean he cannot allege the buyer that he has not taken the custody of the goods or he has not taken the possession. Is very important. So acknowledgement is very essential to fulfill this condition. And the fourth one is demand or tender of delivery may be treated as ineffectual unless made at a reasonable hour. What is reasonable hour is a question of fact. So like if there is a tender of delivery, like tender means like it may not be a original delivery. Like if he's asking that he is ready to deliver the goods, or if he is giving attempt to deliver the goods, but if he has crossed that reasonable time, later he cannot take a standard like he has followed the rules prescribed under section 36. Fine. For example, if I'm making any food items, if I'm making order in the Swiggy, he says that he will be bringing the lunch by 1 o'clock. In case if he is bringing the lunch by night 1 o'clock, like he cannot say that, he cannot, I mean the seller cannot say that he has delivered the goods to me, because the reasonable period is very important. So he has to deliver the goods within the reasonable period prescribed in the contract. Fine. The next clause says that where unless otherwise agreed, the expense of and instantial to putting the goods into a deliverable state shall be borne by the seller. So buyer or seller, both the parties, any party, I mean buyer or seller, can take the expense. Like, but it should be decided in the contract. In case if it is not decided that who will borne the expense, it is the duty that the seller has to he has to bear all the expenses relating to delivery. Fine. So these are the 5 clauses. You should always keep in mind that for bearing the expenses, it should be discussed in the contract at the initial stage itself. If it is not discussed about who will bear the expense, then it is the duty of the seller to deliver the goods on his own expense. Okay. So delivery is a voluntary transfer of possession of goods from seller to buyer. From seller to buyer, the rule relating to delivery of goods may be settled by the contract between the parties. When there is no specific agreement, the provision of the Sale of Goods Act, which would govern the transaction, are the following. So section 33 says about the essential element pertaining to the delivery. So how a delivery should be, what should be the time for delivering the goods, okay, what should be the quality, what should be the quantity, everything is deeply discussed under section 32. So section 33 under section 33, section 33 clearly says that, section 33 provides that delivery of goods may be made by doing anything which has the effect of putting the goods in the possession of the buyer. Like, it can be in any mode. For example, if the seller is directly delivering the goods to the buyer by using his own transportation, if he has transferred the custody to the seller, to the buyer, it means he has transferred, the rule is complete, the rule is over. It means he has transferred the goods to buyer. Or in case if he is delivering the goods to his agent to hand over the goods to the buyer, like, this is also one of the kind of delivery method. The third one is in case if the seller is handing over the custody of the goods to the bailey, any courier service. So it is also a kind of a delivery. So at the end of the day, the delivery should, the possession should transfer from one party to another party. This would be actual delivery. The first thing is actual. So you can see two type of delivery. One is actual delivery, and the second one is symbolic delivery. Actual delivery is nothing but you can transfer the custody of the goods from one person to another person by following any mode. The seller can directly deliver the goods, or through his agent he can deliver the goods. The symbolic delivery is when the seller is giving the custody of, if he is giving the key of warehouse, if he is telling the buyer to take the custody of the goods from the warehouse, it is symbolic delivery. You cannot say that the seller has delivered the goods. It is only a symbolic delivery. He has given only the custody of the goods. So the buyer gets into the possession of the place, not the goods. Fine. So in case if he is giving the custody alone, for example, if I am giving only the password, okay, so it the buyer, the seller cannot say that the delivery is over. He has given only the password, or he has given only the key. So it is a symbolic delivery. Actual delivery is giving the entire custody to the buyer. So the next one is time of delivery. The seller of the goods is not bound to deliver until the buyer applies for delivery. So this section clearly says that, section 35 clearly says that when a buyer demands for the delivery of the goods, it is the duty of the seller to transfer the possession until he will take the delivery before so and so date. It is the duty of the seller to hold the custody of the goods. Like, for example, if the buyer is purchasing something, okay, if a buyer is purchasing a refrigerator, he's requesting the seller to hold the refrigerator for a period of 1 week. It is the duty of the seller to hold the custody of the goods for a week. He cannot deliver the goods within the day prescribed. He cannot do that before the date prescribed by the buyer. So the time of delivery depends upon the contract. So the seller of the goods is not bound to deliver until the buyer applies for delivery. The buyer will have no action against the seller if he has not applied for delivery. The second clause says that in case if the buyer is not asking for the delivery, okay, the contract clearly says that it is the duty of the buyer to ask for the delivery. In case if the buyer is not asking for the delivery from the seller, the buyer cannot sue against the seller for not delivering the goods, because it is the duty of the buyer to ask for the delivery of the goods. In case if he failed to do that, later he cannot sue against the seller for not delivering the goods. So this is what section 35 says. By virtue of this section, the seller is not bound to deliver the goods until the buyer apply for the delivery, and if the buyer does not to deliver the deliver the goods, he cannot be charged under a breach of contract in case if the buyer did not apply for the delivery of the goods. So third rule says that place of delivery. Place is nothing but the place where it should be delivered. I mean, the contract at the time of entering into contract, both the parties should enter into the contract saying that where the upon the delivery depends upon each goods. So goods agreed to be sold or to be delivered at the place in which they are at the time of agreement. So goods sold are to be delivered at the place at which they are at the time of the sale. In future goods are sold, they are to be delivered at the place where they are manufactured or produced. So if it is a specific goods, I mean the goods which is ready for the delivery, it can be the delivery can be made where the contract is entered. Okay. So if it is the future goods, if it is yet to be manufactured, then it can be taken, I mean the delivery can be taken from the manufacturing unit. But the question here is whether the buyer has to take the delivery or the seller has to take the delivery. So as I said earlier, it should be discussed in contract. If the contract is if it is not mentioned in contract, then it is the duty of the seller to transfer the custody of the goods to the buyer. So this is what section 29 says. So quantity to be delivered. Delivery should be of the whole amount contracted to be sold. The seller has the duty to comply with the order of the buyer in kind, quality and quantity. So it is one of the duty of the seller to deliver the quantity which is demanded by the buyer. So in case if the buyer is asking for 500 bags of rice, it is the duty of the seller to deliver entire 500 bags. So if he is transferring only 200 bags, remaining 300 bags is pending by the seller, he cannot say that he has completed the rule as to delivery. Fine. Unless he delivers the entire quality and the quantity which is demanded or which is mentioned by the buyer, it is the duty of the seller to comply with quality and quantity. Fine. So when the quality is when the quality differs or if the quantity differs, okay, so it is the right of the buyer to sue against the seller for not following the contract. So he can sue against the seller for breaching the contract. So you should always keep in mind that the quality and the quantity should be based upon the preference made by the buyer. Fine. So delivery should be of the whole amount contracted to be sold. The seller has the duty to comply the order of the buyer in kind, quality and quantity. If he delivers goods which are different, more or less in kind, quality or quantity than those contract for or send such goods mixed with other goods, he cannot be said to be acting in compliance with the contract. So in case if he is delivering the goods which is mixed with some other goods or with some other quantity or with some other quality, or the quantity asked by the buyer is less comparing to the goods which he received, the buyer cannot, I mean the seller cannot say that he has completed the contract, that he has completed, I mean he has completed the rules mentioned in the contract. Fine. And the last price. So this is the duty of the buyer. So the buyer should be in a position to pay the price at the time of delivering the goods. See, when I'm ordering something through Amazon, okay, if I am mentioning that cash on delivery, it means that I should be ready with the money at the time of delivering the goods. So I have to exchange the money with the product at the time of delivering the goods. So it is the duty of the buyer that he should be ready with the goods at the time of delivering the goods. So section 32 clearly says that it is the duty of the buyer that he should be ready with the money to exchange the goods delivered by the seller, and he should exchange the money with the seller. So the buyer should be in a position to pay the price at the time of delivery to him by the seller. In a contract of sale of goods, price is an essential ingredient. It is very foundation of such a contract. In this view of the matter, unless the buyer is prepared to pay the agreed price, no obligations arise on part of the seller to perform his reciprocal obligation to deliver the goods. So in case if the buyer is not ready with the cash, okay, like the seller is not having the obligation to exchange the goods with the buyer. In case if it is accepted in the contract that he will be getting, he'll be if it is a credit method, then he cannot deny to deliver the goods. But in case if the buyer is mentioning that he will pay for the goods which is delivered by the seller at the time of delivering the goods, it is the duty of the seller to pay. It is the duty of the buyer to pay for the goods delivered by the seller. In case if the buyer is not ready with the money, like the seller is not having any obligation that he has to deliver the goods unless the buyer pays for the goods. So these are all the rules prescribed under section 32 to 36, rule as to delivery. Okay, let us see the next topic, right of unpaid vendor or unpaid seller. So unpaid seller is the one who has not received his consideration. Fine. In case if he has not received his consideration, the one who has not received the consideration can be called as unpaid vendor. Even it is not that like even it may be a partial amount or it may be a minimum amount. If he has not received his minimum, for example, like A and B is entering into contract, B is the buyer here, A is the seller here. The consideration is 1 lakh for the goods. In case if the buyer pays 90,000, there is a remaining of 10,000 for the buyer to the seller. It may be only a little amount, but still if any amount is pending for the seller, like he will get a right under right. So section 46 says that subject to the provision of this act and any of law for the time being enforced, notwithstanding that the property in the goods may be have passed to the buyer, the unpaid seller of goods as such has by implication of law. So he has certain rights under section 46 in case if the goods passed to the buyer, in case if he has delivered the goods to the buyer through any agent or through any carrier. Fine. So in case if he has transferred the goods to the buyer by believing that that the buyer will make a payment, in case if the buyer failed to make payment, he can exercise certain right under section 46. So subclass A, section 46 says that a lien on the ground for the price which he has in possession of them. In case if the seller is holding the custody of the goods, so you can take two circumstances. One is in case if the seller is holding the custody. The second case, in case if he has handed over the custody to the carrier to transfer the custody to the buyer. Fine. So in case if the buyer is holding the custody, he can exercise lien. Lien is nothing but holding the custody of the goods. So in case if there is any pending by the buyer, the seller can exercise right of lien. He can hold the custody of the goods until the buyer pays the entire amount. That is the first right available to the unpaid vendor. Second one is in case of insolvency of the buyer, a right of stoppage in the goods in transit after he has parted with the possession of them. So the second thing, what I said before, like in case he has transferred the goods to the carrier, to in case if I am giving to any professional courier to hand over the custody to the buyer, it means that I lose the custody of the goods. The moment I transfer the moment I give the custody to the carrier or to any middleman, I lose the possession. Fine. So in case if the seller transfer the custody to any middleman, he can anytime retake the delivery of the goods from the carrier. Fine. Like if it, but the essential condition to retake the delivery is that it should not, I mean the goods given by the seller to the carrier or to the middleman, the goods should have not reached the buyer. Fine. So before it reaches the buyer, you can retake the delivery of the goods at any time. Fine. The first thing is, in case if the seller is holding the custody of the goods, he can hold the custody of the goods until he receives his entire amount. The second one is like, in case if the buyer is insolvent, okay, but like the seller is getting the knowledge of insolvency of the buyer after delivering the goods to the carrier, he can retake the delivery of the goods in case if the buyer turns insolvent. Fine. That is the second rule. The third clause says that a right of resale as limited by this act. So like the buyer has the right to retake the delivery of the goods. Fine. So he has the right he has the right to resell the delivery of the goods by following the Limitation Act. So but he cannot exercise this this right directly, but he has to follow certain conditions, that he has to give sufficient time to the buyer to make payment, or he should make advertisement before selling the goods. He should serve notice to the buyer. So certain procedures he has to follow in order to exercise subclass 3. So subclass 2 says that where the property in goods has not passed to the buyer, the unpaid seller has, in addition to his other remedies, a right of withholding delivery similar and coextensive with his right of lien and stoppage in right where the property has passes to the buyer. So when the goods is in the custody of the seller, he can exercise right of lien. Fine. So in case if the seller handed over the custody to the carrier for transferring the goods, he has the right to stoppage in transit. Fine. So in order to exercise right of lien, he should hold the custody of the goods. In order to exercise right of stoppage and lien, right of stoppage, he should deliver the goods to any carrier. Fine. Okay. So section 47 says that subject to the provision of this act, the unpaid seller of goods who is in possession of them is entitled to retain possession of them until payment or tender of the price in the following cases. So the unpaid seller of the goods who is in the possession of them is entitled to retain the possession. 47 says about lien as well as the transit, I mean stoppage in transit. This section, I mean section 47 says about right to lien. So EA 47 says that where the goods have been sold without any stipulation as to credit. So this is the essential condition. Section 47 lays down the condition in order to get benefit under section 46. Fine. So this is the condition. The 47 clearly says that, section 47 clearly says that in case if the seller is accepting for credit sale at the time of entering into contract, he cannot exercise right of lien. That is the first exemption prescribed under this section. So please keep in mind that in order to execute section 46 to get the privilege of unpaid vendor, there are certain conditions prescribed under section 47. Section 47 says that at the time of entering into contract, the seller should not accept for the credit method. In case if he has accepted, he cannot exercise right of lien. If he has accepted, fine. If he has accepted, he cannot exercise right of lien. If he is not accepted, he can exercise right of lien. Second one is where the goods have been sold on credit, but the term of credit has expired. So in order to exercise under section 46, even though it may be a credit method, fine, but the term should be expired in order to get benefit under 46, section 46, fine. If any stipulation is made by the seller, by the buyer, if the stipulation period is crossed by the buyer, then he can exercise. Otherwise, he cannot exercise the right of lien. The third one says that where the buyer become insolvent. Unless otherwise the buyer become insolvent, the seller cannot exercise such right. Fine. So these are all the three essential conditions which is prescribed by section 47 in order to get benefit under section 46. Right? You should not accept for the credit method at the time of entering into contract. Later, you cannot exercise right of lien. In case, even though if you have accepted for the credit method, but the period fixed by the buyer should expire in order to get benefit under section 46. So clause 3 says that in order to exercise, in order to get benefit under section 46, the buyer should become insolvent. Otherwise, you cannot exercise this 46. Fine. The seller may exercise his right of lien, notwithstanding that he is in possession of the goods as agent or bailey for the goods. So he cannot exercise the goods in case like if he has handed over the custody, handed over the custody to the bailey. But the thing is like in case if he has not, he has not what to say, like there are certain conditions prescribed under 47. So unless 47 is satisfied, you cannot get benefit under section 46. So a vendor of goods requires protection when he has parted with the ownership of the goods in favor of the buyer but has not yet received the price of the goods. The law protects him by conceding to him the right of lien. A lien is the right to detain goods in one custody until some claim of the holder of the lien is satisfied. The unpaid vendor's lien entitled him to retain the goods sold until the price is paid. But please keep in mind that you cannot exercise right of lien if there is no arrear by the buyer. You can exercise right of lien only if there is any arrear by the buyer. Even you cannot exercise right of lien for the additional expenses, fine. But there are certain exemptions for that. But generally, you cannot exercise right of lien for additional expenses which is not accepted by the buyer. Fine. The lien of unpaid seller is in the nature of the right of distress. It may be defined as a right of retaining property until a debt due to the person retaining it has been satisfied. So he can hold the custody of the goods until the buyer pays the goods. In case if the buyer is making the payment, thereafter he cannot hold the custody of the goods. The right can be exercised only so long as the goods are in actual possession of himself or his agent. So in order to exercise rights, agent should hold the custody of the goods. Otherwise, he cannot exercise right of lien. In case, just think, it has reached the buyer. Okay. Now you cannot exercise right of lien. You cannot abduct the goods from the buyer. You cannot abduct the goods from the buyer by stating that there is a payment pending by you. So what is the remedy for that? In case if suit against the buyer for the payment, but you cannot abduct the goods by using a third degree method. Fine. So in order to exercise right of lien, you should have the custody of the goods, or your agent should hold the custody of the goods. Or in case if the buyer turns insolvent, you can retake the delivery of the goods from the carrier. Okay, in case if it has reached the buyer, you cannot exercise right of lien here, you cannot exercise right to stoppage here. The remedy available to the unpaid vendor is he can sue against the buyer for getting his price. Okay. The unpaid vendor's lien arises in the following circumstances. The property in the goods should have passed to the buyer. So in case if the goods passed to the buyer, what is the situation? That is what we are going to see. So we have seen two circumstances. One is the goods is in the custody of the goods. The second, the third thing is in case if the goods is transferred to the buyer. Okay. So the first thing, I hope the first thing is clear. In case the buyer is holding, he can hold the right of, he can hold he can exercise right of lien. In case if the middleman is holding, I mean the carrier is holding, he can exercise the right of stoppage in transit. The third thing is in case if the buyer received the goods, in case if it is in the possession of the goods, what is the remedy available to the unpaid vendor? That is what we are going to see now. So the property in the goods should have passed to the buyer. Okay. The price or the part of it should remain unpaid. The lien can be exercised only in respect of price of the goods and not for other charges, warehouse charges of the goods, etc. There should be no stipulation. There should be no stipulation for supply of goods on credit. These things we have seen. But in case if it has reached the buyer, the remedy available to the buyer is he can sue for the price. Holding the for exercising right of lien is that he cannot charge for warehouse charges and for additional charges. Only for the actual amount he can exercise. But in case if the goods pass to the buyer, he can sue against the buyer for the mental agony suffered by the seller. He can ask for the compensation from the buyer. He can ask for the payment. Fine. So like these things he can claim by approaching the court. But he cannot directly take the delivery by using the third degree method. I mean by abducting the goods from the buyer. Fine. So the unpaid vendor's lien is subject to the following limitations. There are following limitations for the unpaid vendor. It can be exercised when the vendor has parted with the possession of the goods. Possession is not simply because the seller is holding the goods as a bailey or agent. I hope like you're clear with this topic. We'll move on to the next topic. This thing I have explained. Okay. Now let us see about the remedies available to the seller and buyer. Fine. In case if there is any breach by the seller, okay, the buyer gets certain benefits by suing against the seller. In case if the buyer is breaching the contract, the seller can sue against the buyer under section 55, 56, 57 and 58, 59 says about remedies to the buyer and seller. Fine. So section 55 and section 56 says about the remedies available to the buyer. Sorry, to the seller. Seller's remedy against buyer. Section 55 of the Sale of Act 1930, the suit for price. So section 55 says that in case if there is any if there is any arrear by the buyer, the seller can sue against the buyer for the price. The price which should be paid by the buyer, which is pending by the buyer. Fine. Where under a contract of sale, the property in the goods has passed to the buyer and the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to pay for the goods, according to the term of the contract, the seller may sue him for the price of the goods. So the first thing is, in case if the in order to get benefit under this section, the goods should transfer from buyer to seller. Sorry, seller to buyer. Fine. The goods should transfer from seller to buyer. The second thing is, in case if the seller is refusing the goods with no reason, okay, there is no breach of contract, there is no difference in quality, quantity. Everything is similar, like what the buyer demanded for. Everything is like he has complied. I mean, the seller has complied with all the terms and conditions laid down by the buyer. But still, if the buyer is not accepting the delivery of the goods, then the buyer can get remedy under section 55. So the seller may sue him for the price of the goods. The second one is subclass 2 says that where under a contract of sale, the price is payable on a day certain irrespective of delivery, and the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to pay such price, the seller may sue him for the price, although the property in the goods has not passed and the goods have not been appropriated to the contract. So subclass 1 says that in case of the goods passed to the buyer, fine. In case if the buyer is not making payment for the goods delivered by the seller to the buyer, or in case if the buyer is not accepting the goods without any proper reason, he can exercise section 55 subclass 1. Subclass 2 says that in case if the buyer is holding the custody, I mean, in case if the seller is holding the custody of the goods, okay, but in case if the buyer is in case if the seller is holding the custody of the goods, but still the buyer is not making payment, he can sue against the buyer for not making payment under subclass 2. Fine. So under a contract of sale, the price is payable on a day certain irrespective of delivery. In case if the buyer is accepting that, he will make a payment on the day of delivery. In case if the buyer is not making payment on the day of delivery, the unpaid seller will get a remedy under subclass 2 of section 55. So section 56 says that the Sale of Goods Act 1930, damage for non-acceptance. So he can section 55 says that he can file a suit against the buyer for price. Section 56 says that he can file a damage. He can file a compensation against the buyer for not accepting the goods. Fine. So in case if there is any breach by the seller cannot get remedy under this section. Fine. There should not be any breach by the seller. Fine. If the condition is duly complied by the seller, but still the buyer is not accepting the goods, then he can file against the buyer for not accepting the goods under section 56, where the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to accept and pay for the goods. The seller may sue him for the damage for non-accepting. For not accepting the goods, he can sue against the buyer in case if the buyer is not accepting the goods. Fine. So the second thing is buyer's remedy against. The first thing what we have seen is seller's remedy against buyer. Now it is buyer's remedy against seller. Section 56 and 58. Sorry, 57 and 58. Damage for non-delivery. In case if the seller is not delivering the goods, or in case if the seller is refusing to deliver the goods, then the affected buyer can sue against the seller against the seller for not delivering the goods or for refusing to deliver the goods. That is what 57 says. So section 56 says that in case if the buyer is not accepting the goods, the seller can sue. 57 says that if the seller is not delivering the goods, or in case if the seller is refusing to deliver the goods, it is the right of the seller to sue against the it is the right of the buyer to sue against the seller for not delivering the goods. Fine. Section 58 is about the specific performance. Specific performance is nothing but you can pray before the court for the specific purpose which is accepted by the seller. In case if the seller is accepting to deliver the goods of, in case if the buyer is, if the buyer is making a order for 500 bags of sugar, fine. In case if the seller is not selling the goods, in case if the seller is not delivering the goods to the buyer, the buyer can exercise section 58. The buyer can exercise section 58. So the buyer can exercise section 58. He can pray before the court for under specific performance. He can file a specific performance suit. He can pray before the court to direct the seller to perform the contract which is accepted by the seller. Fine. Like he can pray before the court to deliver the 500 sugar bags to the buyer. Fine. If you are not okay with the compensation, if you are not okay with the compensation, you can go with section 58. 58 says about a specific performance. You can file a specific performance against the seller. You can pray before the court. You can ask the court to direct the seller to perform the contract which is accepted by the seller. Fine. This is the remedy available to the affected buyer. The 15(9) says about remedy for breach of warranty. In case if there is, we have seen warranty and condition. Okay, so condition is the primary breach, whereas warranty is only a secondary breach. I told you, like in case if you are ordering a red color sari, instead of that if you are getting a black color sari, it is only a warranty breach. You cannot say that it is a condition breach. Only a similar changes in the goods delivered by the seller to buyer. So if there is any warranty breach, what will be the what is the remedy available to the buyer? That is what we are going to see now. Where there is a breach of warranty by the seller, or where the buyer elects or is compelled to treat any breach of a condition on the part of the seller as a breach of warranty, the buyer is not by reason only of such breach of warranty is entitled to reject the goods, but he may set up against the seller that a breach of warranty is diminution or extension of the price to the seller for damage for breach of warranty. The fact that a buyer has set up a breach of warranty in diminution or extension of the price does not prevent him from suing from the same breach of warranty if he has suffered further damages. So in case, I know that I told you that you can treat condition warrant breach of condition as a breach of warranty, but you cannot treat breach of warranty as a breach of condition. Okay, in case if a seller, there is a breach in the condition, okay, there is a breach in the essential primary contract. Fine. For example, if I am making a if I am requesting the seller to deliver iPhone, fine. Instead of iPhone, he is delivering Samsung mobile. It means that there is a condition breach. It is not a warranty breach. So the seller is requesting me to, he's requesting me to treat the condition breach as a warranty breach. Based upon the request made by the seller, I am accepting, I am treating the condition breach as a warranty breach. But still, after considering the condition breach as a warranty breach, still if there is any defect in the goods delivered by the buyer, delivered by the seller, you will get remedy under section 59. Generally, you cannot repudiate the contract. If it is a warranty breach, you cannot repudiate. You cannot cancel the contract. You can get only compensation. But in case if you would have treated a condition breach as a warranty breach, you have the remedy. You have the remedy under section 59. You can return the goods to the seller. You can ask for the compensation. So these two remedies are available under section 59. Okay. So the third one is remedy available to both buyer and seller. Section 60. Section 60 says about the remedies to both the parties. Repudiation of contract before due date. Where either party to a contract of sale repudiates the contract before the date of delivery, the other may either treat the contract as subsisting or wait till the date of delivery, or he may treat the contract as rescinded and due for damages for the breach. See, either party to delivery, in case it may be a buyer or it may be a seller. Okay, any one party, they are repudiating the contract, they are cancelling the contract before the date of delivery. Fine. So in case if A is the seller here, is accepting to deliver the goods by 20th of this May. Before 20th of May, on 18th, he is telling to the buyer that is informing the buyer that he is repudiating the contract. The other, in case if the seller is repudiating or if the buyer is repudiating before the delivery of the date of delivery, the other may treat the contract as a subsisting or wait till the date of delivery, or he may treat the contract as rescinded and sue for damages for the breach. So if any one party is rescinding the contract, okay, if it is not accepted by the buyer or by the seller, okay, the buyer or the seller should wait till the date of delivery. Okay, before that he cannot sue for damages, but he has to wait till the date of delivery. After the time period is crossed, then the buyer or the seller can sue against the one who rescinded the contract without any reason for rescinding it. He can sue against the buyer, or the buyer can sue against seller if the seller is rescinding the contract. The seller can sue against the buyer in case if the buyer is rescinding the contract without any proper reason. Fine. So section 61, interest by way of damages and special damage. Nothing in this act shall affect the right of the seller or the buyer to recover interest or special damages in any case where by law interest or special damages may be recoverable, or to recover the money paid where the consideration for the payment of it has failed. In the absence of a contract to the contrary, the court may award interest at such rate as it thinks fit on the amount of the price. So both the parties, section 61 says that interest by way of damage and special damages. You can, buyer as well as the seller, any one party, okay, any affected party can pray before the court for the damages or for the special damages. Fine. In case if the seller paid certain amount to the buyer, okay, in case if the buyer paid certain amount to the seller, the buyer can get back his amount even under section 55 or under section 61. Fine. So he will get remedy under section 55 as well as under section 61. To a seller in a suit by him for the amount of the price from the date of the tender of the goods or from the date on which the price was payable. To the buyer in a suit by him for the refund of the price in case of the breach of the contract on the part of the seller from the date which the payment was made. So both the parties should wait until the date of delivery. Fine. So in case if there is any breach by buyer or seller, both buyer and seller will get remedy under section 61. So section 55 and section 56 is meant only for seller. Section 57 and 58 is meant only for the buyer, and for section 60, 61, 62. Section 60, 61 is for the buyer and for the seller. Fine. Both the parties can get remedy under section 60 and 61. Fine. I hope you all understood this topic. I'll